I like the dance moves.
Oh yeah? Starting with the dance moves?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it recording? Oh, okay. I'll get into it. Hello, how are you? So I'm actually here in Timbuktu. This is a amazing Ethiopian restaurant that I found. It's such a hidden gem. I don't know if it's a hidden gem for people local, but for me, finding it was fun. It is in Observatory, which is an awesome part of the city. Very artistic, lots of street music and all sorts of fun stuff. Anyway. I want to talk today to you about entrepreneurship. It's obviously a theme of my life, and it's a theme of this show. So I'm going to talk about the question I've often gotten from other folks that are getting into the game is what are some secrets or some formulas for success as an entrepreneur, especially if you want to guarantee success. So I'll try to attempt to answer that today. So first of all, the question is maybe the wrong question because there's nothing that you can do to guarantee success as an entrepreneur. But I can tell you that there's some things that you can do to give yourself a much better chance of success. And when I say much better, I mean it's night and day difference from my experience. So I've done it both ways. I've actually failed completely in projects, and I've had some success in projects. And I'm going to tell you the stuff that I've learned the hard way that has really worked for me. And I'm going to take the approach of somebody who has very little to no resources. They're starting the game with very little to no resources. They are not raising money potentially. I know it's very common to raise money, get somebody else to sort of back your idea and then you validate it and all that. I'm going to pretend that that's not what you're trying to do here. You actually want to start a business with no capital. You don't want to wait for investors to buy in. You want to just go and own the whole thing yourself and go all in on something. Here's what I would do. Here's a couple of top insights that I would give you based on my own experience doing the exact same thing. Okay, and again, I'm not going to pretend that I have I'm knocking out of the park with different projects all the time, but I am running a lot of different experiments right now. I'm running different projects. I've successfully bootstrapped companies to success, and success is all in perspective. If you've gotten a company to over $1 million a year, that's something that I've achieved. That's exciting. That's impressive. It depends on. There's lots of other variables that go into any business if you want to measure it financially from a success standpoint. For example, how much profit does the company have? There's companies that have close to 100% profit that you can build. There's companies that have close to zero or negative profit. So I'm not going to get into all the details of like what kind of company you're trying to build or the sort of the outcome that you're chasing. I'll tell you what I'm chasing in this formula, and if there's some things you can learn here, hopefully that you can apply this to your own journey. So let's start with the type of business that I want to build. So I'm going to try to pick a business that is going to be something that I am passionate about. And it's not a passion about the product. I think a lot of people make that mistake. It's passionate about the problem. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to build something and find somebody that's going to, buy it. I'm the opposite. I actually go in the reverse direction. I'm going to find a market that has a pain, an issue that needs solving, and I'm going to start working on that problem. And I have no idea what I'm building in the beginning. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to start to look at all the potential solutions. I'm going to look at what the problems are with those solutions. I'm going to start talking to customers very early, and I'm actually going to try to sell something before I even built it. If you can sell anything before you built it, you win. Because now when you build it, you have a lot of guarantees that what you're going to build is actually going to be in demand. I see so many entrepreneurs go the other way. They love building. I'm a maker as well, so I love this idea of building stuff and putting something physically or digitally into the world, and then having somebody that actually is as excited about it as you are. But honestly, that's not the approach that I would take if I want to have a better chance of success, because 9 times out of 10, if I go that other route, I may not get the success that I need as quickly as I need it, and I may run out of time, energy, money, focus, whatever it is. Whereas if you go this way, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to have at least demand for whatever solution you come up with, because you're actually going to be talking to people that care and that will be willing to pay you for that idea. So So that's the first thing. Come up with the project that you're passionate about, solving the problem, and working with those type of customers. So it's market first, then I get into customer development, and then I get into product development, okay? Okay, so number 2, this is the second thing that I'm going to try to do if I'm trying to guarantee the highest chance of success, we'll say. The thing I would want to look at is reduce my risk and reduce my expenses in the beginning. So I'm going to try to build something very, very lean. I'm going to try to build something that I can start to sell and then reinvest all the resources almost fully back into product development. So I'm doing what I would consider continuous improvement. Kaizen is what we talk about, Japanese for continuous improvement. I would actually do that in the beginning. So I would try to go out. I mean, we talk in the startup world about the minimal viable product, and I think that's pretty accurate. It's like I want to get something into the market that actually does the job, but I know that it could be way better. But it's good enough that people are willing to spend money on it, and I can take that money and I can reinvest it back into the idea. Again, this is for somebody who's not raising money. You have resources, it needs to be managed very, very well, and so that's how I would approach it. And so that's the number 2 thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to try to build the least version of at least sophisticated version of what I need, and I'm going to look for angles that I can take that are going to actually erase a lot of debt. So there's technical debt, like if you overcoding things, over engineering things, products, or digitally or physically. That happens so much in our industry. When I look at when I say industry, I'm talking about entrepreneurship in general. When you look at entrepreneurs, a lot of us are coming from a design or maker background, or engineering background, software engineering background maybe. We love to build stuff, right? So we're just over engineering all the time. We're just building, and then we're spending time, money, energy, resources, and nobody cares yet. And then you have to go back and re-engineer it anyway, because by the time the customer sees it, it's too late, and you find out that there's a bunch of mistakes. So I'm not going to do that. There's things like no coding that you can do. There's things like using spreadsheets and like a landing page to sell your idea. You can do mock-ups, you can do 3D printing if you're trying to get into hardware stuff. So there's all these ways. I'm not going to get into the weeds here, but there's all these ways that you can actually create shortcuts, or smart cuts, if you will, that will allow you to basically get something into market and start to sell it and then improve upon it. There's always going to be customers that actually love an early version of something. There's always a percentage of consumers that will love that, and this is your opportunity to serve them first, and then you can build for the masses later, okay? That actually leads directly to the 3rd thing that I'm always going to do if I want the greatest chance of success, in my opinion. Again, this is one perspective, but this has worked for me. Start with a niche. Okay, we always hear that, the riches are in the niches, or whatever, niches, I don't know what it is, but anyway, either way, you want to start with a niche. The reason why I want to start with a niche is we always think as entrepreneurs that you have to have an idea that's, the $1 billion idea that's going to serve the masses, going to serve everybody. The honest truth is that most of those big ideas always start off really, really tiny and really, really focused. Okay, they're only serving one aspect of the market in the beginning. Once they've earned that, they get momentum, and they use that momentum to start to advertise and market to the rest of the target markets that they want to go after. So you can look at Tesla with the Roadster. When they came into the market, they came up with a very expensive vehicle that was sort of geared towards a more wealthier demographic, very, very focused, and they did that for many different reasons. That's a really interesting story, the strategy of getting into market, knowing that it was going to be very expensive in the beginning, so having higher margins on a very expensive Roadster versus the 3 Series, which they ended up getting to, that now serves a broader market. That's an example. So they really niche down. Let's look at Facebook. Same thing. They started with Harvard, right? They had one school that they sort of marketed to in the beginning. Now they market to billions of people, right? So you should always think of what's the narrow focus niche that I can start with, and just focus on them first. And don't worry about all the other people that would actually benefit from that product. Find the most passionate first group, and then focus on them first. Okay. So here's my 4th system for success that's going to more predictably get me where I want to go with my new project, my new idea. So this is the one that I think is probably of the ones I've shared so far is most important for me, because it's really easy to do and it's a really easy formula to remember. So just remember CMI, okay? C stands for curate, M stands for model, I stands for improve, right? Real simple. Most of us don't do that. When we build out a product or a solution, what we do is we do just the big I. We basically invent stuff. We try to come up with stuff very creatively out of our head. We're like, I really want to do this. I really want to build this. This is going to be the perfect solution for my customer. What I've found is, and I've been guilty of that myself, I find that actually most of the time I fail when I go that route. What really works actually is a little bit less, seems a little bit less interesting in the beginning, but it becomes way more interesting with the outcome. So what I'm doing is I'm basically starting with a existing market. So there's always going to be somebody out there that's building something similar or somewhat similar to what you're trying to do, or actually trying to solve a solution with something that is somewhat comparable to what you will ultimately get to when you're building out your product. And so what I will do is I'll start with that in mind, and I'll go and find all of those options, and then I'll curate them and filter them down. I'm going to share with you sort of like a tool that I use to sort of filter them down and rate them and so on. But I'm going to basically go and I'm going to filter down to the most impressive options that are currently in the market, okay? Even if they're not doing it the way that I'm thinking about doing it, I still want to understand them. And then what I'm going to do is identify how I could potentially differentiate down the road, but I'm not going to start there. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the best option, and I'm going to try to model the things in that option that are amazing for my product, right? So I'm going to model. I'm just going to, it's not copying exactly, because you don't have to copy exactly. What you're doing is you're taking features and you're modeling them. You're taking certain language, you're modeling it. You can basically be inspired by, and like Kobe Bryant, I'm a big basketball fan. Kobe Bryant modeled Michael Jordan. He's never going to beat Michael Jordan. He never was Michael Jordan, but he modeled Michael Jordan when he was growing up, right? All basketball players look up to different, era players and superstars, and that's what we're talking about here. So you're not going to be copying, you're going to be modeling. Then what you can do is you improve upon that. So your goal is to say, I'm going to model the best in the industry, and then I'm going to improve and beat that, with new innovations on top of that. Now you've actually invented something new, because you've come up with something that's at the top of the industry, and you've actually built even something better on top of that. Okay, I know there's other ways you can build. If you're trying to invent something from scratch, like if you're trying to build the first rocket that's going beyond light speed or whatever, then maybe you can't take this advice. But for most of us, this is actually much better advice than I think we get in terms of how to approach and start a business. The fifth thing I would do to sort of help guarantee or better guarantee success, I keep saying guarantee, but let's say better guarantee success, is I would approach entrepreneurship with the idea of it's not what, it's who. Okay, so this is a framework I use. It's not what or how even, it's who. So I'm thinking about, if I'm trying to figure something out, right? A lot of us get really intimidated because entrepreneurship is a lot of always trying to figure new things out, right? You're always trying to figure out stuff that you have no idea how to do. So you're, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome, or we talk about a lot of these insecurities that we have as entrepreneurs, because if you're doing things right, I think as an entrepreneur, you're actually going into the unknown more than you're going into the known. So you're actually getting out of your comfort zone way more often than you're actually in your comfort zone, right? Like me right now, I'm actually on video here, and this is kind of way out of my comfort zone, but I'm doing it because it's progressing me, and it's hopefully adding some benefit to you, the watcher. This is exactly the same thing we do as entrepreneurs when we're building out products and services. Okay, it's exactly the same thing. And what I've realized is that I don't need to have all the answers. A lot of us kind of come into the game trying to think that we need to have all the answers. we're sort of like the one man or one woman army, right? We are used to, many of us come from backgrounds of maybe consultants before we did, full entrepreneurship. We're now running, maybe a project that has some team members. Well, guess what? That's the secret. Build a team. As an entrepreneur, it's really smart for you to build a team because you can always tackle bigger challenges and more impressive challenges as well. So I would be very, focused in the beginning on figuring out where my strengths are, figuring out where my deficiencies are, and finding people out there that can actually help me, right? So collaborating, partnering, hiring when you can, right? And learning from folks that are really good at the things that you're not so good at. So if I'm coming from a technical background, maybe I'm getting help on the business side. If I'm coming from the business or creative marketing background, maybe I'm going to get somebody to help me out, maybe on the technical or product side. So it just depends. It depends what we're talking about. But there's always going to be somebody out there that has the answers that you don't have, and find that person and learn from them. And guess what? YouTube is a fantastic way to do that, right? I mean, that's maybe what you're doing right now, is you're learning about entrepreneurship from somebody who's got a bit of experience here. So that's exactly what you do, is you find people out there that actually, that know what you were trying to do, and follow them. It actually is a little bit like the modeling thing, right? You want to find people that are doing what you're trying to do and learn from them and apply that to your business. And don't think you have to do it all yourself. And you're going to have tons of success if you have the attitude that whatever I don't know, there's somebody out there that knows what I need to know, and I'm going to go talk to them, and that's going to get me to success. So those are my 5 favorite, I guess, formulas when I'm kicking off like a new project that I'm thinking about, that I'm going to remind myself about, and it's hopefully a framework that you can use to get into the game. I hope to see you on this side. If you are starting out brand new, I'd love to hear what you're working on, if we can help at all, if I can help at all. I do work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I do mentorships. I'm an advisor. I'm a very micro investor. I'm mainly an operator. I'm mainly an entrepreneur that operates my own business. But I would love to stay in touch and connect. So send us a comment, and if we can help, we will. Thank you very much.